welcome to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 355, and today's date is May 1st, 2014, and the title of this episode is, As NATO Builds Its Forces, the Economy is on the Brink of Collapse. Now, we have to understand what the central bankers' United States government is trying to do. They're trying to take all our eyes off of the economy, off of them, and place it someplace else, because they realize that this economy is completely on the brink of collapse. Well, how do we know this? Well, we're looking at indicators day by day showing that it is not getting better. And we're looking at certain information to show us that they know that this whole entire economy is falling apart. Now, we've seen the GDP numbers. They came out. They are absolutely horrible. But what we realized from the past is that all of this was always manipulated. I mean, let's take, for instance, real estate. We knew back in August, September, October, moving into this time period right now, the main banks were laying off thousands of people in their mortgage departments. Now, the question is, why would they do this if the real estate market was improving, rebounding, recovering? They would not. If people had money, they'd be taking out mortgages. They'd be putting down payments on a home. This is not happening, and this is why we see houses being purchased with cash. Retail, of course, they're telling us, oh, it's the weather, people are not going outside and spending, but we see something completely different. We see the unemployment rate much, much higher than they're reporting, because we understand they don't count those people who have not looked for a job, or had an interview, I should say, within the last 4 weeks. Those people who are continually sending out resumes but not had an interview in the 6-8 months, they're not counted. So we can tell that these numbers are completely manipulated. We understand that those high-paying jobs are not there anymore. They are now low-paying jobs. And if you have 1, 2, or 3 part-time, you're considered having 3 jobs, and that goes into the mix. And this is why all these numbers seem not to make sense. And if we really look around, we could see that they aren't making sense. And at the same time that all of this is happening, we have the United States in Ukraine, in the Middle East, and in Africa, and, of course, in Japan, picking a fight with China at this time, because these are all the flashpoints. They need to get something started. If something cannot be started by provoking these countries, they will end up doing it themselves. And when I say they, it's the central bankers, U.S. government. They will do some type of false flag to get the party started, and this is what they've been trying to do all along. And most of the countries realize what they're trying to do. They understand what they're trying to do. They understand that this whole entire system is ready to implode. It cannot be sustained at this point. The dollar is dying, and they get it, and the rest of the world realizes it's time to move away from the dollar. And this is why we see the reserves of the dollar dropping in every single country and in central banks. And we see China making deals with about 23 countries at this time to accept yuan in bilateral trades, set up clearinghouses, and they are pushing this agenda forward. Russia is along there with them. Now they're creating their own payment system, and they're bypassing the dollar completely when they sell their natural resources. So we can see how this is all starting to take place, and everything right now is starting to move into a section of time where they really need to ramp up what they're going to do, because this economy is getting worse and worse as time goes on. It is not getting better. The only thing that's holding this whole thing together is that people believe that the economy is recovering, because when they look at the stock market, they see it's continually going up. Once this market, and this is the last indicator, once this market comes down, people are going to go, what just happened? And of course they're out there telling us that everything is fine, and we know better, because every day we are here looking at the information. We're talking to real people to see what's actually going on, and I've been getting emails from a lot of you, and I see that most of you saying, yes, I've been looking for a job, I've been sending my resume out, No one's responding. Yes, I see that in my town, strip malls are vacant. There's no stores there. More stores are closing. People are having a very rough time making ends meet and finding work, and it's getting more and more difficult as time goes on. And in the United States, we can see this, and throughout Europe we can see this. And throughout Europe, I'm going to say they're in a depression right now. They're no longer in a recession. Italy right now, their unemployment rate is around 12.7%. In March, the youth unemployment is 42.7%. And you have to remember, the youth of any country, this is the foundation. This is the next generation. They're the ones who are supposed to be getting jobs, starting out making money, saving money, buying goods, saving more money, purchasing a house, getting married, having children. But when 42.7% of the people in Italy that are not working, this will not happen. The same thing's happening in Greece, Cyprus, France, Spain, United States. It's all being done at the same time. Now, every country is not going to go through this at the same time. It happens for each country at different times. We see a whole handful of countries going through this, and eventually it creeps up, and eventually hits the other countries, because they are also in some type of an illusion. Because once the world, private Western world, central banks system completely collapses, those countries will go with it. The bubbles will pop. No one will understand what is going on because they believe that we are in some type of recovery. Now, what we're seeing here in the U.S., we're seeing the initial claims have missed by most in 5 months. The last 2 weeks have seen initial claims surge by almost 40,000 people. Now, I'm just going to say that, yes, this is going to surge even higher because we understand that Barclays, RBS, Sony, Dell, Staples, Coldwater Creek, GameStop, all of these companies are laying off thousands upon thousands of people. And there's a lot more companies. I'm just not going to mention every single one of them. But there's many, many more companies that are continually laying off. They have not stopped. And when these benefits, when they actually lay off and their severance, or if they're getting any type of aid from the companies, when that runs out, they'll make their claims. They'll go through unemployment. The unemployment will run out, and this is when the country ends up having a huge, huge problem, because we add more and more people to the unemployment number. And of course, the government will have the unemployment number go down to 4%, and we will know then it's at 40%, because it's always the opposite of what they're actually telling us. Okay, now, we understand they're out there telling us that, the American people are out there, they're going on a spending spree, they're spending tons of money, but what's really happening here is people are diving into their savings, because those people who have been laid off, or those people who have been receiving unemployment, they can't find work, or they have part-time work, and they're really dipping into their savings right now. And if we really look at this, personal spending more than offset the increase in income, rising by 0.9%, or the most since August 2009, which rose to $12.3 trillion, driven roughly equally by an increase in spending on goods and services. Curiously, the increase in goods spending was the single biggest monthly increase also since August 2009. As for services, the systematic increase on spending over the past several months is unmistakable, as far more money is allocated toward Obamacare, health insurance. So people have been spending more money on their health insurance. This is why we've seen spending go up. The savings rate, because people are taking their money out of their savings to make ends meet, to buy the goods they need, has tumbled 3.8%. So this is really not looking good. Now, if we look around to see what's actually happening, we can see there are more stores, more businesses laying off. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. If real estate is booming, and I remember back in 2006, 2007, beginning of 2008, even going back to 2005, I should say, when real estate was actually booming and the bubble was being blown up, we saw And this is when Americans were purchasing homes. They didn't lose 38% of their wealth because of the 2008 crash yet. They still had good credit. They had savings. Housing prices were continually rising very quickly. What I saw furniture stores pop up, more and more furniture stores. What I'm seeing now is that furniture manufacturers and furniture stores are actually closing. Hatch Furniture plans to close its downtown Sioux City store right now, and we're seeing Kincaid Furniture Company to close plant in Hudson. That's 100 jobs going to be lost. And we're seeing retail also closing stores. Aeropostale is closing 125 stores, removing kids' clothes from malls. Express Scripts, 1,890 layoffs, closing 2 facilities. Office Max, closing call center. They're laying off 125 people. All we're seeing right now are major companies continually laying off people. Now, Sony is out there, and they're saying they're going to be slashing profits by 70%. Well, we kind of understand this because a lot of people are not buying the big purchases anymore. Electronics, furniture, and cars. And we're seeing businesses, their profits being completely eroded away, and they are not bringing in what they thought they were going to bring in because the American people just don't have the money to purchase these big items anymore. They just don't have the ability. Now, of course, General Motors, they're up to their old tricks, and we talked about channel stuffing once before, where they push a lot more cars on the lot than they actually need, and they hope by giving discounts and incentives these dealers can sell the cars. But by doing this, it shows that manufacturing increases. It gives them the ability to say, look, we had a great sales, this is fantastic. But all they're doing is channel stuffing the dealerships. And right now, GM right now is hitting an all-time high of about 815,000 cars parked at dealer lots last month, or 83 days of supply. In April, GM's channel stuffing rose to a fresh all-time high of 826,000, 85 days of supply on the lots. GM sales would really have been up about 2.3% year over year, missing estimates and down 13,000 from March. So what they did is they push more cars into the dealer lots. It doesn't mean that they're selling them, but they have about 85 days of supply on these dealer lots right now. Now, we understand that real estate, we're hitting the top of the bubble. Prices are starting to come down. We're seeing companies laying off thousands of people, and they're still doing it. It has not stopped. We see mortgage originations, refinancing, declining by 60 to 66% at this time. It's completely imploding. And of course, all over the corporate media, we're saying that construction spending is up. Well, so during the cold winter months, construction spending went up, but if you really look at the numbers, they expected it to increase by 0.5%. Construction spending only went up 0.2%. So this is a huge miss since March of last year. It is not good. It's not looking good, and the real estate market is not going the way they thought. And right now, 1 in 3 homes are completely unaffordable to the American person right now. They cannot afford these houses. So Freddie Mac is preparing to move in a different direction. And that 1 in 3 homes where it's unaffordable is coming from Zillow. And what we're seeing right now is that it looks like Freddie Mac is going to enter the trailer home market at this time and give loans in that market to get people into real estate. And it really seems like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel right now, just trying to get people into homes, because they're realizing the everyday single-family home is too expensive, the duplexes are too expensive. Let's put people in trailer homes or container homes, and we'll give them loans. We'll try to pump up this market, get mortgage refinancing, mortgage originations, and everything else going. We're going to give it to subprime people. We're going to give them adjustable rate mortgages. If you have a pulse, you can get a mortgage. They are trying everything now to pump this market up, but it is not going to work because most of the people just don't have the funds. And they know what happened last time. They realize, I'm not taking any chances this time. I only have a part-time job. I only have a little bit of money in the bank. I am not wasting my money. Even if it's 100% financing, I'm not taking that risk right now until I have a full-time, good-paying job. And most of the people are just trying to make ends meet right now. And we can see, I went around today to all different stores and I asked the managers of the stores, CVS, Starbucks, and Walgreens, and many other, and supermarkets, all different stores, because I saw reports out there saying that people don't want to work. There's a shortage of labor right now, and I'm sitting here like, shortage of labor. So I went in there and I asked them a general question of, how many applications do you guys have right now if I wanted to apply? And you would be shocked how many applications right now they have in each one of these stores. I mean, in each one of them, it's roughly between 15 and 45. Waiting to get a job in these places. So when people say there's a labor shortage, people are looking for work, but they just can't give it to them. They're applying, but nothing's happening. And I was shocked when they told me the number that they have lined up for people to come in there, and they're applying, giving their application in, and they're wondering why they're not getting a job. Now, we understand the government is really in a huge amount of debt. They have a debt problem because they're continually printing money. They're borrowing. The debt is reaching over $17+ trillion right now. They realize the existing revenue will not be able to sustain this debt, so they need to find revenue everywhere. And I've mentioned this before, but FATCA, this is the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, H.R. 2847, passed by Congress and signed into law by President Obama. This goes into effect July 1st of this year. And if you don't know what that is FATCA requires U.S. citizens who have foreign financial assets in excess of $50,000 or higher, and $200,000 for single filers and $400,000 for joint filers. They need to let the IRS know that they have this money. If they are overseas, they need to pay tax on this money. And what's been happening, because this law is coming into effect, they're going to go after the people's monies. A lot of people are renouncing their citizenship. Now, just listen to these numbers right now. In the whole year of 2013, it looks like there was about 750 people that renounced their citizenship here in the United States. Already in the first quarter of 2014, we're up to 1,000 people. These are people who are working outside of the United States, saying that they don't want to be a citizen anymore, and they're handing in their passport because they don't want to pay the taxes. And a couple of reports ago, I had some quotes from people of why they're renouncing their citizenship, and it was mostly because they were paying double taxes, and they said this is absolutely ridiculous. A lot of them are retired, a lot of them were working with families, and they said they just couldn't make ends meet with paying these taxes like this. And you're going to see more and more people renounce their citizenship as this year goes along, because this law goes into effect, and we're going to see this number jump higher. Now, in Obamacare, we understand that people are not paying, but a figure came out saying how many people actually didn't pay. 1 in 3 people who signed up for Obamacare have not paid at all. So they are realizing when they get the bill, like, whoa, this is way too much money. I'd rather just pay the penalty. I'm young, I'm healthy, or right now, if I do get sick, I'll sign up then, and we'll see what happens. Because right now, we understand that Obamacare right now, the premiums are continually getting higher and higher. They're increasing. You're not getting any benefit for the increased premium. Actually, you're getting less benefit because you have to meet this deductible. Unless you're catastrophically sick, you will not most likely meet that deductible whatsoever. So this health insurance is really giving no benefit at all. Now in New York, the mayor is looking to, and this is the new mayor, Mayor de Blasio, is looking to put a mansion tax on homes that are selling for more than $1 million or more. And the thing is, they always start off with the rich. And you know what happens. You might as well just call this another home tax. They start at the high level and they do the trickle-down effect, where they start taxing the people at the highest, and then they go a little bit lower the next year, a little bit lower, and before you know it, everyone is paying now a home tax, an additional home tax. And we are seeing this occur because they need more revenue. This is what's happening in every state. I see New Jersey was just downgraded right now, their credit rating by Fitch. Every state is running into the same problem. They're going to have problems with revenue coming into the state budget. They need to raise revenue, and you'll see more and more taxes. This is what happens when governments, state governments, can't make ends meet. They continually raise taxes. We see it out in Spain. We see it in France. We see it in Italy. They need more money in Greece, I should say. They need more money, so they continually tax, and they will not stop taxing. Here in the United States, they thought they were going to get Obamacare off the ground. That has a lot of taxes intertwined in it. They also have the penalty. They thought they were going to bring in all this revenue, but it was a complete flop. It was a complete scam. They were trying to hoodwink the people into thinking they were getting this great health insurance, and you know it's not great when your fearless leaders don't even sit down and purchase this crap. They decided, yeah, you know what? Our government insurance is so much better. We don't want Obamacare. Well, if they don't want it, we don't want it. Now, Obama is proposing a toll tax on interstate highways. And the thing is they have an 18.4-cent federal gas tax, which is supposed to be used on all the roads in the country. And listen, I don't have a problem with taxes if they're going to use them for what they're intended for. But what always happens is they're collecting these gas taxes, and you're not seeing road repair because the taxes are then diverted into some other area. And now they say they need more taxes for the taxes they were collecting. They're not using the taxes for the road repair, so we have to create more taxes to pay for the road repair. See, this is where it gets out of hand, and you know those new taxes that they want to implement are not going to go for road repair. They're going to go for something else, and then eventually they'll say they need another tax. And all these tolls and all these taxes, instead of giving $1 billion to Ukraine, instead of giving all this money to the Arab nations and Israel and all these other countries, we want our tax dollars spent here in the U.S. to pay for things here, to pay for programs here. Instead of spending $200 million on a website for health insurance that nobody wants, that money could have been spent other places. And you can see the amount of waste of all this spending and everything they're doing. And of course, you don't even know the amount of money that they're shipping overseas to other countries. It is in the billions that they're sending over to other governments to keep the private Western central banks intact right now, because they cannot have this whole system come down until they get the event started. So we've been spending, I should say, the central bankers, United States government, have been spending billions upon billions of dollars overseas, taking your money and shipping it away. Okay, now we understand the government is trying to pretty much chip away at our rights, and we're seeing a lot of laws coming out. We see the First Amendment areas, little fenced-in cages where we have to go to talk freely. And right now in Pennsylvania, what we're seeing is that the police no longer need a warrant to search a citizen's vehicle. All they have to do is have some type of reasonable probable cause, and they can search your vehicle. Of course, you can say, no, I don't want you to search my vehicle, but this is completely in violation of the Fourth Amendment. I'm sorry. If you want to search something, you need a warrant, because what is a reasonable probable cause? You can make up anything. Oh, dark tinted windows. I suspect something. Oh, what do I smell? Even though there is no smell, that's, probable, reasonable probable cause. Let me search the vehicle. We're getting into the territory where our rights are being taken away, and they're pushing their agenda further and further in trying to remove the rights. This is why they have the First Amendment zone areas in colleges, in protest areas. This is why within, I think it's 50 or 100 feet, you cannot protest around a government official. We are seeing what they are doing. They are continually, incrementally removing our rights very slowly, getting us used to it. Oh, you'll just let us search your vehicle. The next thing, you know what? If we have reasonable probable cause, then we can search your home. Oh, if we have a reasonable probable cause, we can search you, put you into jail. And you're going to see they're going to do this over time, a little bit at a time, get you used to it, a little bit over time, get you used to it. Before you know it, you look back and going, whoa, wait a minute. They can search everything without a warrant now. And the American people would have let this happen instead of standing up for our rights, saying, absolutely not. If you're driving through Pennsylvania, they want to search you or they stop you, absolutely not. You need a warrant. We have to continually reinforce our rights because it is our rights. We are born with them. This is the contract that the entire country, the government, signed when they took office. They are agreeing to the people's rights. And if we don't back it up, who will? Now, talking about rights, we have Ed Markey's hate crime bill that he's trying to push into the House, into the Senate, and get it voted on. Right now, it's not really going anywhere, but you can just see the direction that they're trying to maneuver in. And this is a hate speech or material allegedly determined to be advocating or encouraging violent acts. Now, this is what it means. Once identified, the Congress wants reports to be disseminated to Congress so they can monitor, control, and potentially criminalize thoughts and expressions deemed by an unknown panel of government bureaucrats to be hateful. They want a law where they can have and monitor those people who have certain opinions, who talk about certain subjects. They're going to have a panel that will judge and determine if it's hate or something else. Now, what's the scale for this? How they're going to determine this? They have absolutely no idea. But the senator wants this obscure federal agency to scour these online sources, TV, radio, internet, phone calls, email, and find any speech they find threatening. So if I criticize the government, that could be threatening, and that be a red flag, and all of a sudden I am a criminal because I do not agree with what the government is doing. And of course, this is my First Amendment right. That's the reason why it was put into effect. This is why we have these rights, to criticize the government. He wants them to do it in a connection with the Department of Justice, the U.S. Commission of Civil Rights, and then file a report with Congress on what out there is potentially hateful and could lead to hate crimes. This is absolutely ridiculous. We all have our separate opinions. We all talk about certain subjects. It doesn't mean we're going to commit a crime because we disagree with something. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is a way to remove free speech, to remove people reporting on the internet, to keep the corporate media in line so no one steps out of line, to get rid of all the alternative media sites, to bring this in line. This is what they are doing. They are trying. I don't believe this bill will go anywhere, but it's just amazing to me. People living here in the United States, even this is an elected official who's proposing something like this, is absolutely outrageous. Now, out in the Ukraine right now, we're seeing Ukrainian president has signed a decree titled on measures to improve the state defense capability. They're pretty much setting up a draft. They're drafting everyone into the armed forces right now because they're continuing with the rhetoric, the propaganda that Russia will be invading. Russia is going to be coming into the country, so they have to beef up the armed forces right now. Now, what we're seeing right now, and the Donetsk people who are fighting to have a referendum to be separate and apart from Kiev, Ukraine, they're saying that Kiev is trying to destabilize the Donetsk area because they want to implement a state of emergency and martial law, which will completely stop everything. They're having agent provocateurs within these certain regions trying to start something up so they can declare a state of an emergency and pretty much shut everything down. Protesters are out there saying that we were very peaceful on May Day. They had a march. They were laid flowers at the Eternal Fire and came to the Regional Department of Internal Affairs. We persuaded the authorities to raise flags on the Donetsk People's Republic. And when they did this, there were other activists out there in masks and other things pushing them around, trying to provoke them into doing something. And they are trying everything they possibly can because they do not want to lose the southeastern portion of Ukraine, because the whole thing is completely falling apart at this time. Now, the IMF is out there, and of course they awarded Ukraine $17 billion worth of loans, and of course this puts them into more debt. It makes it harder for the people, and this goes on to say if Ukraine government loses effective control over east of country, they're going to have to redesign this $17 billion deal because they lost part of Ukraine, and they're not going to give them $17 billion right now because now all they have is the West, and the whole thing's falling apart. But since they've been doing this, the people in Ukraine everything's getting better. Inflation jumped to about 16.2% this year. So, you can see how it's getting better for them. They're going down the same path as Greece, as Cyprus, as Spain, as Portugal, as Italy, as France, and this is just going to make it harder and harder for the people, and the people will eventually rise up and say, you know what, we had enough of this because you came in here, you had this coup, you said, oh, look, this is what the people want, and it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. And I hate to say this, when the Ukraine president was in power, he looked at the EU and said, let's see, France, Spain, Italy, all in debt, double-digit unemployment, people are suffering. I don't know if I want to go in that direction. Let me look at Russia and what they're offering. It seems a lot better, and this is why he chose that. And now here the people are with 16% inflation. People don't have jobs. The country is even in more debt now than they were before, and now Ukraine is completely split apart. So thank you for the coup d'etat. Thank you for making the people's lives much, much worse than they were. This is not getting better in Ukraine, and now they're on the brink of some type of provocation to start a war. And right now what we're seeing is NATO is facing the problem of transport routes. So Ukrainian Ministry of Defense is offering its infrastructure for the transit of the U.S. Contingent forces to move through Ukraine. In particular, the document reads that was leaked out. The U.S. has lost the opportunity to use the airfield in Kyrgyzstan. Of course, the lease came up, and they had to remove the air. They couldn't have the airfield. So what are they going to do? They're going to build airfields in Ukraine so the troops can be moved into Ukraine instead of Kyrgyzstan, and we can see how this is playing out. Pretty soon, Ukraine will be completely a part of NATO. Even though they didn't get the Black Sea ports, they will make them a part of NATO as time goes on. Now, NATO's second-in-command says Russia is now an enemy, not a partner. NATO Deputy Secretary General Alexander Vershbow now says that the Allied group has been compelled to treat Russia as an enemy. And, of course, he's out there saying that we need some more support for defenses. We need to surround Russia. We need support in Ukraine, in Moldova, in Georgia, in Armenia. We really need to beef this up. We really need to have NATO surround this area. We need more military assets. We need more spending. We need the U.S. to take action. And if we look around here, we have U.S. F-15 fighters in Lithuania, the Baltic. We have U.S. F-16 fighters in Poland. We have E-3 AWACS aircraft monitoring the skies in Ukraine, Czech Republic. There's fighters there, and Romania. There's also F-16 fighters. We also have troops in the bases bordering the Black Sea there. Denmark, the Danish F-16 fighters are on standby in Denmark. Estonia, there's also F-16 fighters ready to be deployed if something should happen. So they are really beefing up and building up the troops all in this area, bringing in military assets, bringing in the hardware, bringing in the troops ready to have something done. And I know Kerry was out there, Ukraine acting president was out there, all talking about how Russia is going to be moving in. And what concerns me at this point is there's a lot of propaganda letting everyone know and continually letting everyone know that Russia is invading. And this leads me to believe that there could be some type of provocation, or if it doesn't work, some type of an event, false flag, where they do something to make it look like Russia actually did do something, or brought troops in, or did something, or they fired upon a ship, or hit a town. So we're going to have to look at this and see what is going to happen here. Now, in Libya, we understand that the Libya people have been taking back their country. Libya militants are now operating out of a base set up by U.S. Special Forces near a Libyan capital. They acquired this base. They pushed the government out. The government is having a very, very tough time keeping control of the situation. Of course, the U.S. is saying that if they cannot control the situation, they will bring in international forces, U.S. troops, Blackwater, you name it, NATO, UN, to push the people back and take over the country once again, because their biggest worry is losing the private Western Central Bank and the U.S. dollar as the reserve currency. Now, of course, as things get out of control in Libya, the State Department is out there saying that Libya now has become a safe haven for terrorists. And the State Department latest report on global terrorism, released today, yesterday I should say, lists Libya as a terrorist safe haven for the second year in a row. Things are getting worse. They're taking over the country. They're all terrorists. Everyone in there is terrorists. Of course, it's always the people who are fighting to take their country back. Just like in Ukraine, those people were once Ukrainians, and now they are terrorists because they don't want to be a part of the puppet government. Now, with Assad, U.S. insiders that shall not be named, U.S. officials said Syria government is withholding chemical arms to bargain in a dispute over former holding sites. And they're saying that Assad is purposely keeping back the 8% right now. No, the amount of battling and things going on at this time makes it very difficult to maneuver these chemical weapons out of the country. We've been seeing this through the months, and this is why they're behind in their timetable. Russia, UN Security Council have also stated this, that yes, they block the roads, they're at the ports, it's making it very, very difficult, and now these Syrian paid mercenaries have more advanced weapons. There's more of them. It's making it much more difficult. But they're building up this propaganda to let everyone know that Assad has chemical weapons, and now he wants to keep them and use them later on. In France, the United Kingdom, the United States have all claimed to possess indication that Assad's regime is concealing additional chemical arms. And I know I mentioned this before, but now they're all there saying, yes, he does. And also, U.S. government insiders said, that shall not be named, The Syrian regime is stalling for time in a bid to avoiding destroying structures that previously housed warfare chemicals, and also U.S. intelligence services have largely concluded that Assad's government was responsible for the chlorine gas attack because they have no proof whatsoever. They know the rebels did it, so they're just going to come out there and say, yes, he was responsible for the gas attack. And we knew that was coming. We knew this was a false flag event. Of course, there is no proof. There is no evidence. Well, they have pictures of sick people, but that's pretty much meaningless because anybody could have used the chlorine gas. It doesn't mean Assad did, and why would he do it while he's removing chemical weapons with the UN inspectors there? It makes no sense. Who has the motive at this time? That is the paid mercenaries, United States central bankers, Israel, and the Arab nations, because they are losing the battle. This is why you're seeing anti-tank, anti-aircraft missiles coming in. This is why they're training the amount of people down in the area. Now the State Department officially reported, and they're out there saying that, yes, the decentralization of al-Qaeda has evolved. This is a very big problem. They're warning that the rise of aggressive decentralized al-Qaeda affiliates scattered through the Middle East will be coming to the United States. They are a serious threat. This is a huge problem. Like I've been saying, they've been building this up for an event to occur. They just want to keep it in the minds of everyone. We have to remember what has been going on. We realize the elections are coming up for Assad. We understand they've been building them up with military assets. We understand they've been training paid mercenaries in Qatar and in Jordan. We understand the central bankers, United States government in Ukraine. They are provoking Russia. They need some type of an event. One way or another, they will bring us to war. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.